be the end. Now. Yeah. Ah. Again. Ha. 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 Let's go. Take this again. Ah. Yeah. I'll show you my power. Yeah. Now. Ha. Ah. Again. Not a chance. Ah. Huh. Let's go. Great. Again. This will be the end. Now. Ah. Yeah. Ha. Huh. Let's go.
All right. So as you can see, this combo is pretty fucking good. And I think you can actually do it infinitely, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not skilled enough to try it that many times, but I'm pretty confident you can manage your stamina and perform this infinitely in order to 100 your opponent. You just have to basically not drop it, that's it. And the only time they have a chance to escape really in this combo is when they touch the ground and you instant chase them. But that doesn't happen. It didn't happen to me, so it shouldn't happen to you. Now, that's not actually how I perform my combo. That's the best version of it, but that's not how I actually perform it. I don't start with salvo arrows. I start with binding arrow as my first spell in the rotation. And that's because it's easier to drop your combo when you perform it with salvo arrows, and you also need more height than you need for binding arrows. So for example, if I were to do it like this,
Yeah. Let's go.
as you can see, I didn't have time to continue my combo because my target was not high enough. So I always go for binding arrow if I have it. If I don't, I obviously have no other choice. But you won't get the chance to pull this off one too many times, because if your teammate can't keep the enemy busy, then you'll surely get interrupted by a spell or anything really. And yeah, it just goes down together at that point. So you just have to hope you play, let's say, capture the flag, because then the enemy doesn't really give a shit about his teammate. He just defends the flag or tries to capture it if he can. He won't come as often to get his teammate away from a combo that you perform on them. They don't have a reason to do it. They just need to capture the flag or keep us from doing so. He doesn't need his teammate alive to do that. And going for his teammate, actually leaves the flag open, and my teammate could steal it anytime. So yeah, you'll have more success with this and capture the flag, or on a bigger deathmatch map, like the map where you fight, how do you call him? The giant golem, like the Resurrection of Golem mission, that map for deathmatch. If you fight someone there, you have a chance to actually pull this off if the enemy is far enough. If it's the other deathmatch map, the blue one, which is smaller, it's easier for the opponent to just come to you and screw you up. Also, this combo is vulnerable to terrain. When you perform your salvo arrows part of the combo, you really need your opponent to be high up in the air. So if, for example, the dummy were to fall somewhere around here on the stairs, I would actually drop the combo, because he would touch the ground before I could knock him up again. But yeah, that's about it for the combo. That's I did it again. I screwed up with my abilities, and I ended up with this. Is it good? Yeah, but it's more punishing than my original, or my first idea rather, of this combo. My first idea, meaning the one with raining arrows that will just end. It had no loop potential in it. This one you can loop forever, I think, if you manage your stamina properly. And my personal advice for this combo is to perform it with Binding Arrow if you have it. It's the safer version in terms of you actually dropping the combo. And also worth mentioning, my 2 sub-karma crystals for my fists, my gauntlets, whatever you call them, are the 15% cooldown reduction, both of them, actually. I don't think you need them in order to perform the first loop of the combo with salvo arrows. I think you can stall enough there, even without those cooldown reduction sub-karmas. But if you go for the Binding Arrow rotation of the combo, then I think you need the 30% cooldown reduction those 2 sub-karma crystals provide you. Because I had times when I barely got my my reckless charge back up in order to continue my combo. I mean, you can always just let your target fall to the ground after you use either one of your abilities, and just spam your dash left click into storming arrows in order to stall, right? You just do this and you stall for time for your cooldowns. You just have to mind your stamina, but I think it's manageable. As I said earlier, I advise it so that you have the 30% cooldown reduction from your 2 sub-karma crystals. One you'll get for free, the other you have to open a box or pay like 70 cents or something for it. Or even more, I don't know, I don't remember the prices. Of course, this combo has some of the advantages of my first combo. Those being the fact that your target pretty much never touches the ground until you need to loop your combo. So before you need to loop your combo, your target won't touch the ground, which is in itself a pretty good combo. If you perform one rotation of this, it's alright. But if you think you won't have time to perform more than one rotation, probably switching salvo arrows for raining arrows might be better, and just straight up perform the first combo, the first variation of this combo.
I should get going now.
The one you can't actually loop. I still think this is better even if you don't get the chance to loop it properly, because that one, the raining arrow variation of this combo, the one that can be looped, is good. But the issue is that if you somehow get the time to keep your opponent busy so that your teammate can capture the flag or kill them, then this one might be better, even though you'll probably drop it if you and your teammate go in a 2v1 situation on an enemy. It's better to expect to drop your combo so that you can react to that, instead of thinking you caught them in your infinite loop and drop it midway and be like, oh my god, what do I do, right? The pros of this combo are quite obvious. You barely drop your target to the ground, so they don't have a chance to react or to do anything really. And especially if you catch them when they're quite low HP, you can execute them and deny their ulti, which is amazing. Denying enemies ulti is probably one of the best things you can do. The Binding Arrow variation of this combo, or not variation, rather starting with Binding Arrow as your spell instead of salvo arrows, is advised. If you fear that you will drop your combo with salvo arrows, because as I said, you need the height. You need your target to be high up in the air when you perform the salvo arrows variation of the combo, so that you don't drop it, because they simply touch the ground. And also you need the flat area around you, or mildly flat at least. Then again, so that your target doesn't touch the ground by the time you have the chance to knock them up again and continue your combo. With Binding Arrow you don't need any height pretty much. You can take your target off the ground and just go from there with your combo. So let me see if I can pull it off.
Again! Not a chance!
right? And it didn't need any preparation for that. I just knocked off my target off the ground. As for the salvo arrows variation, you do want your target to be as high up in the air as possible after you swap your bow karma and left click them.
This will be the end. Again. Let's go.
Right there, right? I maybe could have waited like half a second more or even less so that my target could go even higher in the air. But I don't think your storming arrows actually hit them when they are too high up in the air, so you have to be mindful of that as well. Yeah, that's what you have to aim for when you do the salvo arrows. Shut up, character. That's what you have to look out for when you perform the salvo arrows rotation of the combo. You must have your target high up in the air, or as high up in the air as possible, so that you don't drop them after you perform salvo arrows on them and want to knock them up again. As for binding arrow, as I showed you earlier, you don't actually need any height beforehand. You can take your target off the ground and just perform it without any difficulties. If you have the 2 subkarma crystals on your gauntlets, in order to have 30% cooldown reduction, I advise to use binding arrow as your first spell, because it's harder to drop like that. And considering the amount of times you will be stopped from actually looping your opponent, it's probably better to be sure that you hit them with whatever you got. If you perform the salvo arrows variation, you're about to get interrupted, then if you drop it, doesn't really mean anything, right? It just means that if you were to catch your opponent and their teammate not be able to free them, you just drop it there and they would escape, or they would turn on you and 100-0 you. Advisable, use binding arrow as your first rotation, because it's honestly way too easy compared to the other one, where you have to not screw up when you use salvo arrows. Sometimes my salvo arrows wouldn't activate because it would be too quick, or I didn't press the button properly or something, right? Or even server issues, because I can't run this game as smoothly as I would like to. So I wouldn't activate one of my abilities because the server lags, let's say, or something like that. Hell, sometimes I would even drop my combo before I even started. Like, as soon as I use my reckless charge on my opponent, I would just drop the combo, because my target wouldn't, my character wouldn't chase the target when I pressed space on them. So yeah, the server can screw you up really badly. If you are not fond of using salvo arrows, just use the raining arrows variation of the combo, the one you can't loop. It's safer. I think it's safer, because you can't actually 100-0 someone with that, but you can chunk them really good. And if you were to be stopped midway combo, you wouldn't lose on that much damage, right? Unless you were stopped as soon as you started it, you really wouldn't lose all that much damage on it. As for this loop, you can pretty much stack it infinitely. And that means that your opponent can stop you at any time as long as his teammate is alive in your loop. The loop is obviously better, but you are vulnerable when you perform the loop, because you are constantly hitting your opponent, and most of the time you will be on your Dance of Wind or Bow Karma, and that makes you more vulnerable to breaks and squishier. You will have lower resistances, so you are pretty vulnerable when you perform this loop. That's why you should have a teammate that can defend you properly. The dream for this combo, right? The absolute dream for this combo is for both you and your teammate to know it and grab your enemies at roughly the same time, so that you can loop them. Because then there is nothing that can stop you from killing them both. As I said earlier, this can be looped if you manage your stamina properly and if you don't drop it for a billion of reasons. Mostly your own mistakes when it comes to performing the salve rotation of this combo. If you have a teammate that can perform this loop, then you're pretty much golden, you're set. Your enemies are just dead the moment you hit instant chase or reckless charge on them. They just die. If you, this is the ideal case, right? You don't drop your combo, your teammate knows its combo, and you catch your opponents at roughly the same time to perform this loop. You're golden, you're set. They both die. It's so goddamn amazing, the fact that you can do that. But I don't think you will be able to do so in solo queue, since hell, who the hell is gonna know this combo? I should mention that you can, in fact, start this combo with any knockup, but you do need your reckless charge in order to pull it off properly. What I mean by that is you can just knock up your opponent, you chase them and then you reckless charge, right? And then you just perform the loop that I showed you at the beginning. So, as any of my other combos, you can start them with any knockup, but you do need reckless charge to actually perform them properly. If you don't have reckless charge and you catch your opponent, let's say you have instant chase, you don't have your reckless charge, what do? Let's see.
Break! Let's go! Ta! Not a chance! Ta! Again! Where do you think you're going? Hi-ya!
That's what you would do if you didn't have your reckless charge when you catch your opponent. But it's not efficient. I'm pretty confident that if it was a real opponent, he had the chance to get up and escape before I could catch them with the reckless charge. So you can, in fact, perform this combo without reckless charge, but you still need instant chase. Otherwise it just doesn't work. For this combo you either need instant chase or reckless charge. It doesn't work if you don't have both of them. If you have one of them it works, if you have both of them it's golden. So yeah, that's it. Hope you found this useful, hope you enjoyed. Later.